Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gash, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gash Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
It's a warm reception to our studio here in Sarakunda. This is Star TV News with me, Maimunaju Fadera. In the headlines tonight, 15 million grant to media houses triggers debate. Sunkara Association Secretary General clarifies on issues related to caste system problem in some Sorahule communities. Gambia registers 4 new COVID-19 related deaths. Sukuta Alkalo commends Inspector Saidi for helping to recover his stolen car on the international scene. Mali coup leaders promise elections after Keita overthrew. Argentina rushes to produce COVID-19 vaccine. Miguel Macron to discuss Europe's future. Well, those were the headlines, and now the news in details. The COVID-19 $15 million grant allocated to media houses in the Gambia has triggered a debate, says the Secretary General of the Gambia Press Union, Sekou Jammeh. Zaglin Koli sat down with the GPU Secretary General, and this is her report.
Since the outbreak of the global pandemic in the Gambia, it is the first of its kind that the government of the Gambia is providing funds for the Gambian press with an amount of $15 million. Sekou Jammeh said the funds have triggered a debate in many aspects.
Of course, it has triggered a debate about mainly, how the funds should be distributed, who is eligible, what could be the eligible expenses. And these are very fundamental questions, and it forced the GPU to go back to the drawing board to come up with a policy. And I must say that we are very proud that at least for the money that has been given to the media, unlike other grants given to other sectors, the media one will be guided by a very concrete and very clear policy. So the GPU has developed a policy. We know that not everyone is in line with the policy, because the policy, if you ask me whether it is strict, I will say, well, I wouldn't say no, that it is strict, because it has to be, because this is taxpayers' money, and the media, being the fourth estate, should be there to account for whatever butut that they spend. And there should also be guidelines on how to spend this money, because we have to understand this is called COVID grant support to the media. So it is to strengthen the institutional capacity of the media, as so far as it has to do with media's reporting of COVID, and not to take care of the entire expenses of any media house. And
Sekou added that when the policy was developed, there is a section which they call eligible expenses, which primarily would be the labor cost of frontline workers, whether they are staffed or freelance journalists. Their salary should be catered for 6 months without delay, and the grants will take care of that.
Well, the policy providing a lot of other issues, including reporting and monitoring, who is going to report to who and when, who is going to monitor and what are they going to monitor. It also includes issues of refunds. If you say you're going to spend the money to pay your staff, we give you 100,000, but you didn't pay your staff, you should refund it. So it's a very comprehensive policy, really. It talks about what kind of media houses are eligible. We said it very clearly that any media house that is registered in the Gambia should be eligible, but provided that you are either interested in or you have record of coverage of COVID. So if you are a media entity but you are not interested in coverage of COVID, you have not been covering COVID, you shouldn't be eligible for this, because this is for COVID. It's for frontline people. Yeah.
Mr. Jammeh stressed that many want the fund to be given in bulk, which will be very difficult to operate because there are 50 media houses in the Gambia and 15 million is to be shared among them. Meanwhile, over 15 journalists have been infected with the novel coronavirus, and the GPU, according to Sekou Jammeh, isolated the union premises to create an isolation center for those infected with the virus.
Is that we are going to also hire a place that will serve as a quarantine center for journalists who have contracted the virus. And when you are there and you are a freelance, there will be some form of allowance given to you every week until such time that you come out of it. But anyone, whether you are staff or freelance, when you are there, you will be given meal allowances, you will be given medical services, and then we will work on establishing some relationship with the Ministry of Health so that we can have health personnel to come and check them there on a regular basis. Because the problem we have is that, some journalists felt that they had contracted the virus. We contacted the health ministry for them to be taken to the quarantine centers or for them to be simply tested. We couldn't get that. It was very difficult because the health system, we understand, is very much overwhelmed. So we are going to even move into our office on Monday because we at some point had to abandon the GPU office so that we can allow some journalists to come in there for isolation. Yeah, because health personnel wouldn't come and pick them. You understand? So we abandoned the office so that they can come in, but now we've fumigated the place, and we probably are going to get another place where we will send journalists for quarantine or for self-isolation.
He further advised the journalists to read the advisory note made by the GPU to help safeguard themselves from the virus. Jacqueline Coley reporting for Star TV News.
The Sunkara Association Secretary General on Thursday shed light on the recent caste problem which involves the nobles and those who are claimed to be slaves in Garawal, a problem that later resulted to a police case. Modu El-Baji files in this report.
Slavery is still practiced in some parts of Africa. However, in the Gambia, the Upper River region is enduring problems as a result of slavery within the Sunkara tribe. And this is believed to be found by people who are not living in these communities. The Sunkara Association Secretary General Musa Kamara outlines his organization's efforts in curbing the violence in the Sarahule communities. He also denied the existence of tribal conflict in URR, alleging that all these problems are perpetuated by those who are not residents of those communities.
The caste problem that right now is circulating the countrywide, so it's something that for our organization, we don't see it in that way, because today we don't witness any slavery confrontation in the community or slavery dispute. So among the neighbors, among the peoples of the village. So when we had that problem, to say that the caste problem is in our community, maybe it's because some peoples are interested to take that one and bring it and highlight it in such a way that is favorable for them. But for our level, what we witness in our villages is the problems and problem causes. People who reside in the village, they don't have problem with their neighbors. But the problem is there are some people out of those villages are instructing a small part of the peoples in those villages to create misunderstanding, to create noise because of in their benefit. Most of the peoples involved into those problems in the village, we witness that most of them don't know exactly what is the objective of this confrontation. They just tell them some sweet words, we can say in this way, or some the compromising things, you understand, making them to see that they can act and defend a case and defend an objective with that objective, which they themselves, they cannot come out and say that I'm defending this object because I'm living these conditions and I don't want it. So our organization, Sunkara Foundation, first of all, to make it clear, we create this organization for the entire community. We invite everyone, starting from the alcalos and the imams and the village representatives, to try to sort out any problem between the community. We can sit down and discuss it, and we can solve it as our elders were doing in the past time, right?
Mr. Kamara sees the opportunity to call on the government and the relevant stakeholders to intervene in resolving this matter. The communities involved are yet to come to terms despite the intervention of the police regional commissioner. Musa Kamara further elaborated on the matter.
We can sit down and discuss it, and we can solve it as our elders were doing in the past time, right? But since this problem is there, they turn it and make it caste problem. So the police cases were involved there, the court cases are dragging there. So all these things bring this situation very complicated during our investigation, because whenever we had something from the villages, we just move and go and inquire, investigate what has happened, and from both parties. But always when we come back, our report gives us that the one is in the social media, that is the caste problems, and the original of the problems in the village definitely are not visible.
The police commissioner's effort to reconcile these communities did not materialize because of a WhatsApp audio that was circulating on social media, alleging that the police commissioner was bribed to protect the perpetrators. For Star TV, I am Modu Elbaji.
The Gambia has today registered 4 new COVID-19 related deaths, bringing the total number of deaths ever registered in the country to 81. Maria Madam reports.
4 new COVID-19 related deaths have been recorded, bringing the total number of deaths to 81, according to the Ministry of Health on Thursday. Samples from all 4 deceased cases, 3 males and 1 female, were collected posthumously, the Health Ministry said. It added, out of the 6 posthumous sample results received, 1 returned positive, 3 tested inconclusive, and 2 were negative for COVID-19. On the same day, the Gambia registered 113 new cases of COVID-19, taking the total number of COVID-19 cases ever confirmed in the country to 2,401. According to the Health Ministry on Thursday, 309 people have been newly tested, out of which 313 people tested positive. The median age of the new cases is 37 years. Range 1 to 91 years, the Health Ministry said. No one was newly taken into quarantine. 11 new discharges were made. The country currently has 291 people in quarantine, 1,885 active cases, 201 probable cases, and a crude case fatality ratio of 3.4%. In another development, the Ministry of Health, on a virtual online press briefing with media houses, highlights the relationship between non-communicable diseases that is not transmissible directly from one person to another and COVID-19. The ministry outlined that there is evidence that people with NCD are more vulnerable to COVID-19, and non-communicable diseases are a concern to the Ministry of Health, which is very challenging in the midst of COVID-19. They, however, urge the media to update the general public on the relationship between NCD and COVID-19. And according to the director of the Department of Non-Communicable Disease at WHO, Dr. Bente Mikkelsen, not only are people with NCDs more vulnerable to becoming seriously ill with the virus, but many are unable to access the treatment they need to manage their illnesses. It is very important not only that care for people living with NCDs is included in national response and preparedness plans for COVID-19, but that innovative ways are found to implement those plans. Maria Madem, reporting for Star TV News.
Our Gambian police detective inspector has been commended for his outstanding performance and professionalism in helping the Sukuta Alkalo to recover his stolen car. Inspector Yoro Seidi was the lead detective assigned to investigate a stolen car belonging to the Sukuta Alkalo, Mr. Alaji Kausu Escham. More on this report with Yamdo Kuka.
The criminal complaint of Cham's stolen car was filed on August 2, 2020, and within 1 week, Detective Seidi was able to recover the stolen car and have the suspects arrested as well. Moreover, the Alcalo of Sukuta wrote to the Inspector General of Police to express gratitude to the Police High Command, and it reads, "I am writing this letter to express my appreciation in the way and manner the case of my stolen vehicle was handled by one of your officers by the name Yoro Seidi. Following the theft of my vehicle on the 2nd August 2020, Yoro Seidi was the detective officer handling the case, and the entire case was conducted with professionalism, and in fact, he assured me that the vehicle will be recovered following my complaint." Alcalo Cham stated in a letter addressed to the Inspector General of Police Mahmoud Job. The letter dated August 17, 2020 further stated, "Considering the fact that the information I was receiving from people was that the vehicle was already driven out of the jurisdiction, I never would have believed that this case would have been brought to a conclusion and my car recovered in a span of a week." Detective Inspector Seidi works at the Sukuta police station. The Alcalo said Detective Seidi had lived up to the promise he made to him that he was going to do everything within his professional means to recover his stolen car. However, due to the professionalism of Officer Seidi, I allowed him to do his work whilst remaining calm and believing his reassuring words that he will handle the situation. True to his words, Officer Seidi arrested the suspect on the 9th of August 2020 and recovered the vehicle. "Officer Seidi is an example of what a police officer is and should strive to be," said Alcalo Cham. According to Alcalo Cham, the Gambia police force is made of officers who represented the best part of law enforcement. He says the likes of Detective Seidi are representing the core values of law enforcement. "I and the elders of Sukuta send gratitude to Officer Yoro Seidi and the outstanding officers who assisted in protecting and serving me and my extension of the community at large. I must also add that during my interaction with Officer Seidi, I found that he is incorruptible and this, he is worthy commendation," Alcalo Cham remarked. Yamuno Koka reporting for Star TV News.
Well, those were the local stories. We will be back with international news after the short commercial break. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jeja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jeja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gosh, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gosh Group also provides the best security company, Gosh Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gosh Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gosh on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gosh Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.global.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh.
Welcome back after that short commercial break, and we now look at the news beyond our borders. Malian opposition leader Mahmoud Dicko said he will step back from politics after meeting soldiers who deposed the president in a coup. The new military rulers have ordered civil servants to return to work and promised to oversee democratic elections within a reasonable time frame. The international community has condemned Tuesday's coup, with some announcing sanctions. Al Jazeera's Ahmed Idris reports.
Jubilation on the streets of Bamako. After months of demonstrations that resulted in deaths and injuries to anti-government protesters, opposition supporters are now ecstatic about the potential for change to the government.
The way this regime fell was a good thing. It was good for us. So what the military did is not a coup. What they did was support the people in order to alleviate their suffering. In democracy, the power belongs to the people. the same people who gave the power to the president, but he was unable to achieve what the people expected of him.
The military needs to organize a transition. Then at some point they can return it to the civilians, to the political parties. What I ask today is that they sit down, hold talks, and find a global solution for the problems of Mali.
Mali's new military rulers, a group calling themselves the National Committee for the Salvation of the People, said the intervention was necessary and they vowed to return Mali to democratic rule.
People of Mali, we are not holding on to power, but we are holding on to the stability of the country, which will allow us to organise within an agreed reasonable time frame general elections to equip Mali with strong institutions which are able to better manage our everyday lives and restore confidence between the government and the governed.
On Tuesday, the military leaders overthrew President Ibrahim Keita's government, arresting him and members of the cabinet and senior army officers. They accused the president and the others of failing to protect Malians and for allowing corruption to flourish. The promise of a return to constitutional democracy is welcome news to the opposition, but there are also concerns that the army may seek to hold on to power, something the opposition say they will resist.
We have our own ideas about how things should be run, so it's too early for us to say whether they will respect their words or not, but I can guarantee you that we will fight just like we fought the previous regime to make sure that poverty and bad governance will be a thing of history.
International reactions to the coup were swift. The United Nations, France and the United States have condemned the coup, with the African Union suspending Mali's membership of the organization. The regional bloc, the Economic Community of West African States, announced a list of sanctions. A land and air blockade of the landlocked country is in effect. It will also restrict financial flows from member states to the country, measures that could worsen the already tough living conditions for Malians. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera.
Argentina is battling a surge in coronavirus cases with at least 312,000 infections now confirmed and more than 6,000 related deaths. The government says intensive care admissions and hospital bed occupancy rates have become unsustainable. Last week, Argentina announced a local laboratory will start manufacturing the highly promising AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine. Consuming the vaccine is proven effective and clears safety trials. Argentina will then distribute it to countries throughout South America with the exemption of Brazil, which is producing its own vaccine. Al Jazeera's Teresa Bu reports from Buenos Aires.
Black balloons to remember healthcare workers who died of COVID-19. Here, at the Hospital Durand in Buenos Aires, doctors, nurses and aides say they're deeply concerned for themselves and their colleagues as the virus continues to spread.
There have been 60 deaths of healthcare workers throughout Argentina and 16,888 infected healthcare workers. We will have beds here in the city of Buenos Aires. In the province there will be beds, but for sure there won't be workers to attend those beds. There'll be virtual beds.
Argentina was one of the first countries in Latin America to impose a lockdown, and even though in the beginning it was able to control the spread of COVID-19, cases are once again on the rise, leading the government to announce another extension of the country's quarantine. In spite of the virus, thousands of Argentines took to the streets last Monday to protest against the government and the lockdown. Many believe 5 months of total lockdown is too much.
It seems to me that, as in other countries, we should be trusted to behave like adults and responsibly resume work and moving the country forward.
But as discontent is on the rise, so is the effort to help produce a vaccine. Last week, Argentina announced a local laboratory will start manufacturing the highly promising AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine. Assuming the vaccine is proven effective and clears safety trials, Argentina will then distribute it to countries throughout South America, with the exception of Brazil, which is producing its own vaccine.
Argentina and several countries in the region have been on lockdown for months, and this has had a dramatic effect on the economy and on people's lives. This laboratory is in a way a guarantee that countries in this part of the world will be able to access the vaccine as soon as possible.
Lucas Filguera Rizzo says production will start within weeks.
we started the work with AstraZeneca and with the tech transfer. We already started. We are purchasing things at risk, and we will start producing even if the results are not yet there. We are waiting the results for October, and we will more or less start in that time frame, but we are not waiting for the results. We are just moving as fast as we can.
The lockdown has helped preserve life in Argentina, but it has also exacerbated an already difficult economic situation. The challenge now is to jumpstart the economy without an increase in loss of life. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera, Buenos Aires.
Later on Thursday, German Chancellor Angela Merkel will meet French President Emmanuel Macron at his presidential retreat in the Mediterranean to discuss the future of the European Union. Al Jazeera's Dominic Kane reports from Berlin, Germany.
When the EU was looking to minimize the economic threat from the coronavirus, it was to these two it turned. Theirs was the personal drive to reach a compromise, a demonstration of their intent to try to solve Europe's problems where possible, as in their shared view about the current political upheaval in Belarus.
Freedom of expression and the right to demonstrate must be guaranteed. Prisoners must be released, and there must be a national dialogue to settle things peacefully in Belarus.
For decades, the strength of the Franco-German relationship has been a given. Governments would come and go, but the two countries' shared political interests would remain, in effect forcing ministers to work together for a common purpose.
The personal dynamic between these two is clear. Despite the generational differences between them, the French president welcomes the analytical approach the Chancellor brings to politics.
That you can really in depth discuss an idea and a concept with her, and you get an honest answer. And it's not a political one because it's not an ideological one. It's more really, okay, can this work or not?
That last question is one many in Germany are asking now about the Trump administration's plan for NATO in Europe. Its decision last month to withdraw some of its forces from Germany has worried many. Now, some analysts say this poses a real dilemma for the French and Germans.
Trump is destructive to world order. He is more than a dilemma, he's a danger. And to suppress that before the election is decisive.
In visiting Macron at his Mediterranean retreat, Merkel is doing something few other leaders get to do. Because, some say, when she meets him, it's not just a photo opportunity, rather it is a meeting of minds. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
And before we end the news, a quick recap of our main headlines. The COVID-19 $15 million grant allocated to media houses in the Gambia has triggered a debate, says the Secretary General of the Gambia Press Union, Sekou Jammeh. The Sunkara Association Secretary General on Thursday set light on the recent caste problem, which involves the nobles and those who are claimed to be slaves in Garawal, a problem that later resulted to a police case. The Gambia has today registered 4 new COVID-19 related deaths, bringing the total number of deaths ever registered in the country to 81. A Gambian police detective inspector has been commended for his outstanding performance and professionalism in helping the Sunkara Alcalo to recover his stolen car. Inspector Yoro Seidi was the lead detective assigned to investigate a stolen car belonging to the Sunkara Alcalo, Mr. Alaji Kausu S. Cham. Malian opposition leader Mahmoud Dicko said he will step back from politics after meeting soldiers who deposed the president in a coup. The new military rulers have ordered civil servants to return to work and promised to oversee democratic elections within a reasonable time frame. The international community has condemned Tuesday's coup, with some announcing sanctions. Argentina is battling a surge in coronavirus cases, with at least 312,000 infections now confirmed and more than 6,000 related deaths. The government says intensive care admissions and hospital bed occupancy rates have become unsustainable. Last week, Argentina announced a local laboratory will start manufacturing the highly promising AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine. Later on Thursday, German Chancellor Angela Merkel will meet French President Emmanuel Macron at his presidential retreat in the Mediterranean to discuss the future of the European Union. Well, that's all for this edition of the news. Do join us tomorrow for more news. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs. Thanks for watching, and it's bye for now.